It's been the worst time of my life, Joe. If somebody accused me of raping them or hurting them, I have a 22-year-old daughter. I would never hurt anyone.
For decades, audiences around the world have recognized his face long before they remembered his name. Whether he appeared for just a few minutes or dominated an entire scene, Clifton Powell had a remarkable ability to leave a lasting impression. He became one of Hollywood's most dependable character actors, portraying intimidating villains, devoted fathers, streetwise hustlers, police officers, and unforgettable mentors. His performances brought realism to every role, earning the respect of fellow actors and filmmakers alike. Yet behind the success, applause, and more than 100 acting credits lay a story filled with hardship, personal setbacks, public controversy, and an uphill battle to protect a reputation built over decades. At one point, many believed his career was over forever. Headlines spread faster than facts, and public opinion seemed to reach its verdict before any courtroom ever could. But what really happened to Clifton Powell? Was Hollywood saying goodbye to one of its most recognizable performers? Or was the truth far more complicated than the headline suggested? To understand how everything changed, it is important to begin at the very start. Long before movie premieres and red carpets, Powell was growing up in southeast Washington, D.C., an area known for economic hardship and crime during much of his childhood. Life offered few guarantees, and opportunities were scarce. Losing his mother at an early age left a permanent mark on him, while his father's struggles with alcoholism created additional instability at home. Like many young people in similar circumstances, Powell faced daily choices that could have sent his life in dramatically different directions. Many of his peers became trapped by violence, addiction, or the criminal justice system. Powell later reflected that survival required discipline, determination, and guidance from adults who encouraged him to dream beyond the limitations of his neighborhood. Acting gradually became more than a hobby. It offered an escape, a purpose, and eventually a career. Powell worked tirelessly to sharpen his craft, accepting auditions that often led nowhere while supporting himself through other jobs. Like countless aspiring performers, he experienced rejection after rejection. Casting directors frequently overlooked him, and opportunities were limited for actors who did not fit Hollywood's traditional leading man image. Instead of quitting, Powell focused on becoming the kind of performer directors could always rely on. He understood that even a small supporting role could become memorable if it was performed with complete commitment. The persistence eventually paid off. During the early 1990s, Powell began appearing in increasingly prominent film roles, introducing audiences to an actor capable of commanding attention without needing top billing. His performances carried authenticity because many of the emotions he portrayed had roots in his own life experiences. He understood struggle, disappointment, fear, and resilience not as abstract ideas, but as realities he had personally endured. One breakthrough came with his appearance in the acclaimed crime drama Menace to Society. Although the film featured several memorable performances, Powell demonstrated an ability to create believable characters who felt grounded in reality rather than exaggerated for entertainment. Hollywood took notice. Directors realized he could strengthen almost any production by bringing emotional weight and credibility to supporting roles. Soon afterward, audiences embraced him in the Friday film series. While many actors become trapped in a single style of performance, Powell displayed impressive versatility. One film might require him to portray an intimidating criminal, while the next demanded impeccable comedic timing. He moved comfortably between drama and comedy, making each character distinct. Fans often quoted his dialogue years after the films were released, a testament to the lasting impact of his performances. His career continued expanding throughout the 1990s and early 2000s. Powell appeared in numerous films alongside some of Hollywood's biggest stars, quietly building one of the industry's most extensive resumes. Although he rarely occupied the spotlight reserved for leading actors, his consistency made him one of the most respected character performers in the business. Directors knew they could depend on him to elevate scenes regardless of the size of the role. One of the defining moments of his career arrived with the acclaimed biographical film Ray. Starring alongside Jamie Foxx, Powell delivered a performance that earned widespread praise and contributed to recognition from the entertainment industry. The project demonstrated once again that he possessed dramatic depth far beyond the tough characters many audiences associated with him. Critics praised the film, and Powell's work further solidified his reputation as an accomplished actor capable of delivering emotionally layered performances. To viewers, everything appeared to be going exactly as planned. His filmography continued growing, television appearances remained steady, and younger actors increasingly viewed him as someone whose career they hoped to emulate. Years of persistence had transformed a difficult childhood into a remarkable professional success story. Few could have predicted that one controversy would soon threaten nearly everything he had spent decades building. The turning point came not because of a disappointing performance or a failed movie, but because of allegations that quickly spread through entertainment news outlets. As media coverage intensified, Powell suddenly found himself at the center of a public controversy unlike anything he had experienced before. The accusations generated widespread attention, and before many people knew the details, opinions were already forming across television, newspapers, and the internet. Powell firmly denied the allegations from the beginning. The legal process unfolded over several years, with criminal proceedings ultimately not resulting in a conviction. A related civil case also proceeded to the courts before eventually ending without establishing criminal guilt. Even so, the controversy had already produced consequences that no legal outcome could immediately erase. In Hollywood, reputation often influences opportunity just as much as talent. Producers, studios, and networks frequently become cautious when controversies surround an actor, regardless of how legal proceedings ultimately conclude. For Powell, that reality became painfully clear. Projects became more difficult to secure, professional relationships grew uncertain, and the momentum he had spent decades creating began to slow. Whether fair or unfair, the court of public opinion had already begun shaping perceptions long before the legal process reached its conclusion. For Powell, the experience became about more than defending himself in court. It became a struggle to preserve a lifetime of work, protect his family's name, and convince an industry driven by public image to look beyond headlines. The ordeal raised larger questions extending far beyond one actor's career. How much damage can allegations cause before facts are fully established? Can a reputation ever completely recover once doubt enters the public conversation? And when legal cases end, does public judgment truly end with them, or does it continue long after the headlines fade? Those questions would define the next chapter of Clifton Powell's life, testing not only his career, but also his resilience in ways no movie role ever could. As the legal proceedings continued, the uncertainty surrounding Clifton Powell became almost as damaging as the allegations themselves. In the entertainment industry, waiting for a final legal outcome is often a luxury few studios are willing to afford. Production schedules move quickly, financial investments are enormous, and executives tend to avoid anything that might create unwanted publicity. Whether an actor is ultimately cleared or not, the mere presence of controversy can influence casting decisions. For Powell, this meant watching opportunities disappear while he continued insisting that he had done nothing wrong. The situation illustrated a difficult reality about modern celebrity culture. News travels instantly, but corrections rarely receive the same attention as the original headlines. Public opinion often forms within hours, while legal cases may take months or even years to resolve. During that time, actors, musicians, athletes, and other public figures can experience significant professional setbacks regardless of how the legal process eventually concludes. Powell later spoke about the emotional weight of living under constant scrutiny, describing how every interview and public appearance seemed overshadowed by questions about the controversy instead of his decades of work in film and television. For someone who had spent years building a reputation as a dependable professional, the change was difficult to accept. Directors who once praised his work became hesitant. Some projects quietly moved in different directions. Others simply stopped calling. Although Powell continued working, the consistency that had defined his career began to fade. The industry that had relied on his talent suddenly appeared uncertain about whether hiring him might create unwanted distractions. Beyond Hollywood, the controversy affected everyday life. Fame can make ordinary experiences unusually complicated. Walking through airports, attending public events, or even going out to dinner often means encountering strangers who recognize an actor from television or film. During the height of the controversy, Powell knew that many people recognized him not only for performances, but also because of the headlines. He later suggested that this public judgment became one of the most painful aspects of the experience, because assumptions were often made before the legal process had fully run its course. The legal matters eventually reached their conclusion. The criminal investigation did not result in a criminal conviction, and the broader legal disputes came to an end after years of litigation. Legally, the chapter was closed. Emotionally and professionally, however, rebuilding proved far more complicated. A courtroom can resolve a case, but it cannot instantly restore public confidence or erase years of speculation. Even as the controversy gradually faded from the news cycle, Powell faced another challenge that had existed throughout much of his career: finding equal opportunities within Hollywood itself. In interviews over the years, he openly discussed his belief that darker-skinned black actors sometimes encountered barriers that had little to do with talent or professionalism. According to Powell, there were occasions when he felt casting decisions reflected industry preferences that favored certain appearances over others. These comments were part of a broader conversation that has existed in Hollywood for decades. Many performers have described experiences in which marketability, appearance, or perceived audience expectations influence casting decisions. Powell argued that actors should ultimately be judged by their ability to bring characters to life rather than by physical characteristics unrelated to performance. Whether discussing these broader industry issues or reflecting on his own experiences, he consistently emphasized the importance of perseverance rather than resentment. Ironically, some of the very qualities that made Powell an exceptional actor also contributed to the way audiences perceived him. He became famous for portraying intimidating characters with remarkable realism. His powerful screen presence allowed him to convincingly play criminals, gang leaders, corrupt officials, and other complex personalities. Those performances earned praise because viewers believed every moment. Yet they also created a lasting public image that sometimes overshadowed his range. Off-screen, colleagues frequently described Powell as approachable, generous, and committed to mentoring younger performers entering the business. Aspiring actors often spoke about receiving encouragement from him during auditions or while working together on film sets. He understood how difficult the industry could be because he had experienced those struggles himself. Rather than presenting himself as someone who had all the answers, he often encouraged newcomers to remain patient, continue improving their craft, and avoid expecting overnight success. His own career reflected that philosophy. Unlike many performers who become famous through a single blockbuster, Powell built his reputation gradually over decades. Each supporting role added another layer to his resume. Each performance strengthened relationships with directors and producers who appreciated his professionalism. While leading actors often received magazine covers and award show attention, character actors like Powell became a foundation upon which many successful films were built. Away from movie sets, Powell also reflected publicly on mistakes he believed had affected his personal life. He acknowledged that pursuing a demanding acting career required long periods away from home, and he expressed regret that work sometimes prevented him from spending as much time with his children as he wished. Those reflections revealed a side of Powell that audiences rarely saw. Instead of portraying himself as someone without flaws, he openly admitted that success often comes with sacrifices that are difficult to fully appreciate until years later. Financial challenges added another layer to his story. Like many entertainers whose income can fluctuate dramatically depending on available projects, Powell experienced periods of financial pressure. He has spoken candidly about decisions involving gambling and spending that he later viewed as mistakes. Rather than hiding those experiences, he used them as examples of how even successful careers require discipline beyond the movie set. Fame, he suggested, does not automatically protect people from poor decisions or difficult consequences. His willingness to discuss those subjects openly earned respect from many fans because it presented a more complete picture of life in Hollywood. Success, he explained, is rarely as glamorous as it appears from the outside. Behind every red carpet premiere are countless auditions, disappointments, financial risks, and personal sacrifices that audiences seldom witness. Despite the setbacks, Powell continued accepting acting roles whenever opportunities arose. Independent films, television appearances, and streaming projects allowed him to remain active in an industry that had changed dramatically since the beginning of his career. The rise of digital platforms created new opportunities for experienced actors whose talents remained in demand even as traditional studio filmmaking evolved. Looking back across more than 3 decades in entertainment, one theme becomes impossible to ignore: resilience. Powell's journey was never defined solely by success or failure. Instead, it became a story of persistence through changing circumstances. From a difficult childhood in Washington, D.C., to Hollywood recognition, from critical acclaim to public controversy, and from professional setbacks to continued work, his career reflected both the rewards and uncertainties of life in the entertainment business. By the time the legal chapter had closed, Powell understood that rebuilding a reputation required patience. Some people would continue believing the headlines they first encountered years earlier. Others would examine the complete record and reach different conclusions. That reality is not unique to Hollywood, but it becomes especially visible when public figures live much of their lives under constant media attention. The experience also sparked broader conversations about how quickly public opinion can shift and how difficult it can be for individuals to regain trust after becoming the focus of controversy. Regardless of where people stood on the case itself, many observers agreed that legal proceedings and public perception often operate on separate timelines. A courtroom may reach its conclusion, but public debate can continue indefinitely. For Clifton Powell, the years following the controversy became less about reclaiming celebrity status and more about continuing to do what had first inspired him decades earlier: acting. Rather than allowing setbacks to define his legacy, he focused on the work itself, believing that consistent performances would ultimately speak louder than speculation. Yet, one question still remained unanswered. After surviving personal hardships, professional obstacles, industry discrimination, financial struggles, and years of public controversy, what would Clifton Powell want his legacy to be remembered for? That answer would emerge not from a single headline, but from a full story of a career built on perseverance, determination, and an enduring passion for craft of acting.